Donkey Kong Country returns. It was the first proper Donkey Kong game that I ever played, but I always found the name confusing. First of all, which country? Is Donkey Kong the leader of a country? And also, returns? Returns from what? Is the country returning? How can it leave? It's a country. I'm pretty sure Prime Minister Donkey Kong doesn't have a license to drive a country. Or is it trying to leave the EU? What the fuck is going on? It's these thoughts, along with the hairy three-handed demon that plays with my toes, that kept me up at night. I had to get to the bottom of this, so I went back into Donkey Kong's past. Whoa, not that far, you fucking moron. I went back into Donkey Kong's past to see where all this came from, leading me to play the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and it was great, like genuinely some of the best side-scrolling platforming I've ever seen, with immaculate presentation to boot. Even the trilogy's weakest link, the third one, is still really bloody good. Unable to wrestle my Donkey Kong erection down, I decided to explore a bit more of Donkey Kong's world, leading me to play Donkey Kong 64. And that game is, well, let me put it like this. I didn't personally witness 9/11, but I imagine it looked a lot like Donkey Kong 64. What an absolute erection-killing shit show. There are apparently a lot more Donkey Kong games out there, some to do with drums, some involving Mario. I'm pretty sure there's one that involves swinging from pegs, but I'm not in the mood for pegging right now. I want to play something I know will be fun, so I'm going to return to Returns. In a funny sort of way, Returns itself has returned. Originally this game was on the Wii, which is how I experienced it, but now there's an HD version available on the Switch, complete with additional levels from the 3DS version that I didn't even know existed. It seems like a no-brainer to play the HD version. Not just for the bonus content, but also because I can't be asked to deal with motion controls. As much as I love rapidly jerking a thick white rod up and down for a long period of time, I just don't have it in me. But I am definitely keen to go back to my Donkey Kong roots, because Donkey Kong Country returns? This is how you make a game. It all begins on Donkey Kong's Island Paradise, where the volcano in the center erupts, releasing a bunch of magical tiki creatures along with a giant tiki tower. Question: how the fuck do wooden tiki creatures survive molten lava? Volcanoes are like thousands of degrees. I get too hot wearing beanies, but these little tiki monsters can handle the heat? What kind of wood are these things made of? They don't have time to figure out how they weren't burned to ash though, they've got a mission. The Tiki set out to steal all of the bananas on the island, including those belonging to the Kongs, by using their magical, musical instrument bodies to hypnotize the island's inhabitants. And I can't blame them, it's an enchanting song. Better than the songs these days that are just women in their late 20s complaining about their boyfriends over the top of generic pop sounds. I doubt that will get the wildlife to do your bidding. Interestingly, the harmonious hypnosis doesn't work on Donkey Kong either because he's too stupid or he's deaf. He might even be both. He beats the shit out of the Tiki that was trying to woo him and sets off to recover the stolen bananas. As a story, it's alright as far as Donkey Kong Country goes. It has an opening cutscene that alone gives it the edge over the others. But also, I like that it's not just K. Rool and the Kremlings again. Like yeah, they're iconic villains, but it's fun to face a new threat every so often. I like the idea of these little tiki guys. They have cool designs, some of them are kinda cute, and I really like the concept of sentient musical instruments that play with themselves to hypnotize others. The story is, in end effect, the same as the first Donkey Kong Country, but it was carried out differently, and it's enough to get the ball rolling. And now that the ball is rolling, we get to see what Donkey Kong Country Returns is all about. Right away, you can see that this game is sticking to the Donkey Kong Country style, which makes sense, because why else would they call it Donkey Kong Country Returns? What, do you think an actual country left and then came back? What kind of idiot would think something like that? It's very much the same idea. It's a side-scrolling platform in which you try and reach the end of the level, overcoming any obstacles, hazards, and enemies that try and stop you, or dying to them if you're bad at it. It looks and feels very similar. Donkey Kong's movement is not that far off the original, with all of the same moves being carried over. He's got his jump, his roll, and he can carry and throw barrels. His movement does feel a lot easier to control though. He's not as slippery and he feels more responsive, accurate, and comfortable. He feels reliable, which is what you want in a game like this. But it's not just more of the same. In the time it took for Donkey Kong Country to return, he's learned some new tricks. Some aren't very impressive, like the ability to blow, which apart from a few rare occasions is almost never useful or interesting. He can also hang on to grassy surfaces and climb around. But the big one is the ability to pound the ground. Not sexually, but with his enormous hands. I guess that could be sexual. This ground pounding has a variety of uses, such as stunning enemies, activating large buttons and switches, breaking through unstable platforms, and others that I can't think of right now. It's a simple addition, but it adds an extra layer to what was already great standard gameplay. It's a good approach. Keep it fresh, but keep it simple. Now let's talk health. I've got this weird purple rash on the inside of my left thigh. I don't know if it's an infection or some kind of bruise, but it's itchy as hell and I don't know what to do. Donkey Kong also has some health problems in that he has 2 hearts, which is not normal, and unfortunately there isn't a Surgery Kong who can remove the second one. But in this game, it works to his advantage. In the old game, Donkey Kong could take 1 hit and then he'd die. If he had company in Diddy Kong, then he would die and Diddy would carry on from there. It's the meat shield system, and while morally questionable, it was a unique and kinda cool way of managing hit points. In Returns, it's a bit different. With his 2 hearts, Donkey Kong can take 1 hit and carry on. It's when he takes a second hit, he dies. He can also replenish his lost hearts by finding them within levels. This is a much more forgiving system and I like it, especially when Diddy gets involved. Diddy not only adds an extra 2 hit points, he also changes how the game plays. Instead of taking turns, Donkey and Diddy work together. With Diddy mounted on his back, also not sexually, Donkey Kong has the ability to perform his role indefinitely and also hover in the air for a bit using Diddy's jetpack, making him an even more versatile character to play as. He becomes faster and more mobile in the air. This is balanced out by the possibility of losing Diddy if he loses his 2 hit points. Maybe having 2 hearts just runs in the family? In any case, I much prefer this tag team approach to the meat shield approach, as it makes playing the game more fun and forgiving without compromising on difficulty. Fun is the perfect word to describe this game. Donkey and Diddy making their way through well over 70 levels is just fun. And these levels are incredible in so many ways, even the most basic ones have something to offer. They obviously stick very closely to how the old Donkey Kong Country games work, very similar structures and level elements and such, and also quite a large amount of difficult but fair challenges. But because technological capabilities advance so much between the third game and this one, it means the levels in Returns can be so much more ambitious and involved, and they really went all out. On top of being well designed and challenging, the levels in this game are also very dynamic and interesting, each with a splash of individuality. Each level has some kind of unique idea or focus, like deadly tidal waves that can kill you in 1 hit, but somehow can't manage to destroy a wooden shipwreck, like a cluster of spiders that you have to escape from, like switches that extend and retract platforms and stress the absolute fuck out of you, and even levels that don't have some kind of wild and wacky gimmick and are instead a bit more subtle, leave an impression. Rambi makes a return as this game's only rideable animal and makes what would otherwise be fairly standard levels a bit more interesting. I also love this spiky boulder level in particular for some reason, but even the game's regular run-of-the-mill levels are still really good. Every level is fun, well-designed, fair, and makes perfect use of Donkey and Diddy Kong's movement and abilities. They're action-packed, dynamic, individual, memorable, and have plenty of moving parts that helps them pop. This game even does vehicle levels well. Other games should take some fucking notes. Returns brings back the dreaded minecart levels from the original trilogy. They strike fear into the hearts of every player, and that's not an exaggeration. But they're just fun despite that. I think it's because it's not such a drastic shift away from the standard gameplay. When you really think about it, it's just platforming on rails. It's not some completely different gameplay style, you're still jumping and trying to avoid obstacles, you're just automatically moving forward. And Returns' flair for the dramatic means these levels also have plenty of moving parts and cool ideas on the go. The other vehicle in this game is a new addition, the rocket barrel. This strikes even more fear into my heart, and I've only got 1. The rocket barrel levels are similar in that they're on rails, but instead of jumping, you're maneuvering up and down, kinda like Flappy Bird. And these levels are the same as the minecart in that they aren't something completely out of left field. They're still sticking to fundamental Donkey Kong Country, it's just a different approach to it. And also like the minecart levels, they're also full of surprises and character. This is how you do fucking vehicle levels. The 4th world in this game, creatively named Cave, is full of exclusively minecart and rocket barrel levels. In any other game, a world full of only vehicle levels would make me want to jump into an active volcano and re-emerge as a wooden tiki saxophone. But in this game, the vehicle levels are so fun and still very fundamentally Donkey Kong Country that they don't even feel like vehicle levels. That's one hell of an achievement. Like the standard levels, each of these vehicle levels was a blast. The only level in this game that I'm not an outright fan of is Perilous Passage, which is a brutal gauntlet of what felt like trial and error. Hazards drop and swoop in out of nowhere, and you don't have a lot of room to avoid them, which is bullshit, not just me being bad. Luckily, you can buy some tools to help you from Cranky's shop, which feels like cheating, but people take antibiotics for health problems, and we don't consider that cheating, so get off my back. Perilous Passage is meant to be difficult though, as it's one of the special temple levels. There's one in each of the main worlds, and they're unlocked by collecting all of the Kong letters in every other level in that world. This is great, because it repurposes the Kong letters into doing something useful, rather than just granting you an extra life. Or whatever it did back then. Completing all the temple levels also unlocks a bonus world with a bunch of bonus levels, all of which are also pretty fun, so it's well worth the effort. I love having a bit of extra content like that, you're getting more bang for your buck. Collecting all the Kong letters can be tough, but what's even tougher is collecting all of the puzzle pieces. This is a new collectible added in this game. Each level has anywhere between 5 and 9 puzzle pieces hidden throughout. Some are fairly obvious, sitting in plain sight. Some require you to successfully complete bonus rounds, which are a little disappointing because they recycle the same formations over and over, but it's still cool that they're there. Some puzzle pieces are very well hidden, requiring you to complete some kind of secret challenge or find a secret area. I've never seen a side-scroller platformer reward exploration this much before. And it's not like you just collect the puzzle pieces for the sake of it. Collecting them all unlocks all kinds of neat rewards like concept art and dioramas and such. It just makes playing the levels that much more fun, and it's satisfying when you see all the puzzle pieces come together at the very end after you smash open that barrel. It feels like slamming a door, just, I might have some kind of condition. The game's weakest element is without a doubt the boss fights, as is tradition in Donkey Kong Country. For some reason, they just suck. With the exception of K. Rool, they're easy, short, and underwhelming. The boss fights are the weakest part of Returns, but for the first time in the series, they're not bad. They're still really easy, but they've got some fun ideas going on, with each of the musical tikis hypnotizing a local creature. I really like the fight against Colonel Pluck. I think it's the best non-K. Rool fight the Donkey Kong Country series has produced, and the final boss against Tiki Tong is pretty cool too. After ascending to the top of the tower poking out of the volcano, Donkey and Diddy witness the musical tikis using their bananas to turn into Tiki Tong's hands, and after Tiki Tong is defeated, Donkey Kong is blasted off into space, where he punches the moon into the tower, squashing it and causing the volcano to erupt with all of their bananas intact somehow. That's a stupid ending, which is why it's so perfect. The game's presentation is also pretty perfect. What I will say is that they played it very safe, and didn't take many, if any, risks at all. I mean, the themes for the worlds are jungle, beach, ruins, cave, forest, cliff, factory, and volcano. When the most ambitious theme in your game is factory, I mean, it speaks for itself. But they do these themes really well, everything looks gorgeous, and the presentation is also part of what makes some of these levels so unique. The colony of bats, the pirate ship, creating a giant Donkey Kong robot, environments crumbling and elements appearing. This is all part of the game's immaculate presentation. Even overworld shenanigans like the bridge in the 6th world crumbling, or having to activate the rocket in the factory to make it to the boss, is a cool idea, and also part of the presentation. My favourite bit has to be the silhouette levels. That's such a wicked concept for a level, and they look great. They also have fantastic music to go along with them, which is true of every level really. The soundtrack was a solid mix of familiar and new, with some old songs being remade for this game, along with some brand new ones. And they range from being smooth and chill to being bombastic and energetic. It's also very jazzy, which I like. Most people hate jazz, but you know what jazz is better than? Women in their late 20s complaining about their boyfriends over the top of generic pop sounds. Fuck that shit, jazz every day of the week. After you beat the game, there are a couple of things you can do. You can collect all of the puzzle pieces, which is tough, but I did it when I was younger and I was much stupider then. If I could do it then, I could do it again now. Probably. There are also some other modes to try out. Time Attack is one such mode where you try to complete the level as quickly as possible. This is quite hard to do because this is a hard game, but the way the levels are designed and the way Donkey and Diddy Kong control actually allow for quite a lot of quick and speedy movement. It's kind of nuts. The other mode is Mirror Mode, which is not just a mirror mode. It reflects the levels, of course, but also you're not allowed to use Diddy Kong for help and you only have a maximum of 1 heart. You have to beat each level without getting hit a single time. That's fucking brutal. But it would be an excuse to go through all the levels again. I don't think it's much of a secret at this point. Donkey Kong Country Returns is fantastic. I've only got positive things to say. It's nearly bloody perfect. A brilliant modernization of Donkey Kong Country, which back then was already brilliant. This game did all of the right things, from gameplay to level design to presentation. Even the story was above average for this series. Like, I have nothing negative to say. Usually there's a but where I go, actually that wasn't good, but nothing's coming to mind. All I can think of is like, where's Dixie? That's all I've got. Not Kitty though, fuck that character. Donkey Kong Country Returns returned in a way that was, as the back of the box describes, ape-tastic. Donkey Kong has done me proud. I salute you, Prime Minister. Long live Donkey Kong Country.